Hey, you got it. This is Anja and Nicole, and we are here with In Love with Love podcast. We are so happy to be back with you guys. This is season 2, guys. Get excited. We appreciate everyone who has supported us thus far. Anja, what you want to talk about today?
I want to talk about what is supernatural marriage. I hear some people saying it. I personally am waiting for it, but I think it's important to talk about it.
I agree.
Supernatural marriage.
And why would you even want something like that? First of all, I've also heard it synonymously called prophetic marriage.
Oh.
Right? Yeah.
I haven't heard that term, but I like it.
Yeah. Some of the, I don't want to say gurus, but for lack of a better word, but some of the knowledgeable people that really teach about, I guess, prophetic and, I'm drawing a blank, supernatural marriages. Yeah. They've called it prophetic marriage. And we can talk, shout out to some of the people. We're not probably going to be able to catch everybody, but we can talk about some of those people because maybe somebody wants to go and listen to some of their teachings. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
But what is it? Like, first of all, we talked about in our first episode back in season 2, we talked about what's the problem, what's really going on in terms of relationships and the breakdown in love and families and all of that, and then talking about building up that love and journeying on that path to finding true love and finding it in a covenant, which is marriage, right?
Yeah.
And it's biblical, it's according to the principles in the Bible, it's kingdom.
Yes.
So what did you want to say about that?
Well, I've always thought, and maybe you could shine some light on this for me. I remember hearing about a couple of years ago about marriage and the family being God's chosen way.
I love that.
Yeah, like to unite or reunite, the way that He chooses to reunite Himself to us. I believe it is. Is that what it is?
I've heard, and I'll shout out a person that I really follow. Apostle Vivian Rose is a well-known. You can follow her on YouTube. You can check her out. Teacher of the word, very sound and very revelatory, right? And she talks about how kingdom marriages, right, by definition, if you had to define it, is a covenant or relationship between a man and a woman that God has highlighted that leads people to Christ.
That part. Okay. Yeah. That part. Now that is the piece that I needed. And it's so interesting because some people can be irritated and say, oh, we don't need that, and marriage is just a piece of paper, but literally,
and why are we being so super deep?
It's not that serious, but that's God's chosen way. We didn't make the rules. So,
and how do you know, like, how do you discriminate, right? Like, because that was another question, but she talks about that a lot. Like, it's God's highest grade of marriage, and it takes almost a level of faith, like,
did you say almost?
Like a great level of faith,
girl,
right?
I was going to say almost.
Sometimes everybody's situation is different. Everybody's situation is tailor-made. Like, some people might wait 5 months. Some people might have to wait 5 years, 15 years, whatever. But there's some level of progression, growth, and weight for what this is called a supernatural marriage. And also, I like I said, I'm referencing Apostle Vivian because I've used it to grow in my faith, some of the teachings that she's taught. And so I love how she talks about the perspective of, some people think, well, it didn't take that long. It didn't take that long for me or for such and such. But she said, I guarantee that means someone else has already contended. They might have contended on the back end, grandma, or, someone may contend later on, because the fall of man, the frailty of man sometimes causes, of course, families to break up and to break down and decline. And quite frankly, this is what has helped me in my faith, because I'm still a woman in waiting for a supernatural prophetic marriage.
As I am.
And I have had to pray and declare and fast at times and then rest at other times, but God talking to me and showing me who my husband is and things of that nature, but still seeing it come to pass is a whole nother thing, and learning to wait in that and to stay in faith in that is a whole nother thing, right? So what she has said is that basically continue to pray and continue to apply biblical principles to that and continue to be the best version of yourself as well. But I know that's sometimes controversial.
Well, I mean, at the same, but honestly, yes and no. The controversial part is like when we get frustrated and we say we don't want to do it. That's all us. You know.
And
what
let
I'm
me
saying?
say this, because I do want to unpack this for a minute, because we're of the same mindset. We actually, met in a mentorship group that helps
Yeah.
groom people. Shout out to the Bentons, Apostle Yvette and
Gerald Benton.
Benton. But the point I was trying to make is that I've lost my train of thought.
It's okay.
Just
It's
go ahead.
okay, because what I was going to say was there's an in the meantime. And in the meantime of, I don't want to just say waiting, but in the meantime of God orchestrating, changing, delivering, healing, transforming, whether you, most likely, I'm not going to say whether you or your partner, it's most likely you and your partner, there is a whole segment of things that he's called for us to do, because there won't be marriage when we get to heaven. You know what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
there are things here that he's asked us to do, that he's ordained us to do, that he decided for us and purposed for us when we were still in our mother's wombs to do. And the question is, are we doing them? And at what magnitude are we doing them, like, for the kingdom?
And that makes a good point. Devon Franklin recently released a teaching about, I'm paraphrasing, but the power of oneness. So even in marriage, there's a certain level, like you said, of uniqueness and oneness, and there's a certain call or mandate, if you will, for you to complete something in the earth. So even though you're coming together as one, you're also single. It was more so his take on being single, and that there's a singular you that has to complete something in the earth. Mm-hmm. So you're very right on that. I know the point that I was trying to make. And I just lost the it'll come back. Go ahead.
No worries. So
I know it was thank you, Lord. Oh gosh. So guys, we're really tired. We've had a long day. But this topic is I'm so passionate about it, because I think people, if we're not careful, we will listen to people that talk about like silly women, like they're thinking that you're being religious, and you're the one that's keeping you single, because you
even
can
if
do
you are
serial dating, or
even if you are, how is it hurting them?
Multiple dating. And I'm just saying, but this is the idea sometimes that we have to contend with, because you're like, well, am I the one keeping me single? Am I the one because I'm believing in a certain way? Because many Christian women are like, I'm just waiting. And I'm not saying this is what we're saying, but they're like, I'm waiting on Christ. I'm just waiting on God. When there are other mindsets like Torah Sense, the relationship guru, that I'm not sure she's Christian. I think she talks sometimes about godly principles. I don't truly follow her, but I've watched some of her things, and I've watched looked at her website. And so she talks about dating multiple men for Christian women to activate their faith and find love. And I guess I go back to, again, the difference between what you're looking for, and the difference in what, if you want a supernatural or prophetic marriage and you can believe for it, that may not be the way that God is saying. Because I know for me, I've tried to do some social dating, some social media,
Girl, me
the
too.
dating sites and things. But
Me too, child.
I know the
too.
Lord was like, that's not what I want for you.
Yeah.
So that wasn't it, right?
No, I've done the same thing, and part of it was like, okay, well, I wanted something to do because I was a little bored.
Right.
And then another part of it was like, I got to be proactive. I got to make something happen. And every time I knew it wasn't that
part. And I think that's the disillusionment, because you're like, well, you're activating your faith. Let's get going. Let's get something. You can do some dating. That doesn't mean you're going to find the person.
But that's also not everybody, because I do know some people who have gone on social media and found
Absolutely. But I'm just saying, for you, just because someone's selling you something and saying, and making you think, well, what are you doing? You're not. And it's not like, I get it. There has to be balance, because you heard people say, you don't go anywhere. You go to church, you go to work. Well, that God can show you some people between church and work, right? But I'm just saying, have you heard people say that?
Absolutely.
So you're not really putting yourself out there. You're not this, you're not that. It's always you're not doing enough of something.
Yeah, so supernatural marriage, I feel like, is a tender spot, and I'm going to say for a lot of people, I'm going to say for a lot of people, because it's, a tender subject for people who are divorced and had been married or may not be in a good marriage. And so they'll say marriage is a sham. No, boo, your marriage is a sham. Like, because you didn't understand the purpose of it. And I think that's Dr. Miles Monroe talks about that a lot. Understanding the purpose of something before getting into it. A lot of people don't understand the purpose of marriage before getting into a marriage. They're just like, you know what, I like you, you like me, or maybe we have a couple of kids, let's finally make this thing legit, or I should be married because that's the thing that people are supposed to do, or I'm lonely, so let me get married. There are a lot of reasons why people go and get married. But when you have the mindset of supernatural marriage, that's because there's been an arrestment and an understanding of the purpose of marriage, God's plans of marriage, and the oil that it costs. Marriage is not. Don't get me wrong, it's cute. It look cute to dress up together and all of those kind of things, but it costs a lot. There's so much sacrifice. There's so much submission because we are literally mirroring the marriage that Jesus had to the church. So that's the reality of it all. So, and we also know that anytime we have like a supernatural marriage, girl, it's going to be like all of heaven against it. But
and as a unit, though, we're advancing. We talk about kingdom. You're advancing kingdom. So what purpose, right?
Yeah.
Is the two of you coming together to produce, to advance? Like, what solution can your marriage bring to a problem already in the world?
And that also comes with knowing yourself. Do you see all of the stuff that comes? Like, a supernatural marriage is not just like, kumbaya, my lord. It's not just that. It's like you have to know there's so much purpose, like there's so much purpose driven, not just knowledge but application that needs to go forth. Because if you don't know what you're supposed to be doing in this earth or in this world, and then you get with somebody else who's clueless, it's just going to be a clueless situation.
Intentional. That's what I hear.
Very intentional. It's absolutely intentional. So it ruffles feathers.
Yeah.
Because this world that we live in, we talked with one of our guests, Viola, and we talked about fast fashion for a moment. And we want fast everything. I want instant coffee. I mean, I don't even drink coffee, but but you know, I just think of like instant coffee, instant oatmeal,
grits,
fast
oatmeal,
food.
cereal,
Like we wanted the meal fast. I was at waiting for some food from a place recently, and it was like they were taking so long, and I didn't like how irritated I was getting. Because they were there literally flipping the food and stuff, flipping the burgers. They were there flipping the burgers. I knew they were cooking them right in front of me, but I wanted it like that. That's not even realistic. Did I want to get sick and eat some raw meat that should have been cooked all the way? But that attitude of like having things so instant had been ingrained, so I had to check myself because I was wrecking myself.
So the process of waiting, sometimes God knows that He can mature us. Yeah. We don't want that. It goes back to what our guest Viola was telling us too about, or it was another guest. It could have been her as well, but also being accountable.
Yeah,
like being true to yourself, and being accountable. I think Queen Sheba has talked about that as well. So
yeah, both of them did. Yeah. So once again, in supernatural marriage, I think when you flip the script, I'm not going to lie to you. It's become, because for so long, it had been a sore spot for me. And it wasn't so much supernatural marriage. I was just thinking marriage. But God was like, nah, boo, I got something better for you.
Yeah. Upgrade.
Seriously, upgrade. And so it had become a source of contention because here I was praying and waiting and all of these things, and all these other people who I had encouraged were getting married faster than me, been married for years, having kids and stuff. And I started feeling like, dang, God, you played me. Like you did play me for a second. I always feared you playing me for a second. You played me for a second, until I started getting focused on the purposeful things that He had for me. And honestly, now like I'm living my best life.
Let me ask you this, because that was powerful, and I wanted to pause on what you said, because I heard it from a place that many of us need to be healed from. Is like, God, was this God thing is all a scam? You know what I mean? And how we can hang those disappointments, right? Honestly, real disappointments, like this person died. How could you let that happen? This person broke my heart. how could you let that happen? Like, I was believing for this.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't come to pass.
Mm-hmm.
Like, God, you're a scam, right? You know, like,
Yeah,
that's
like,
real...
dang, you played me for a second. And I can say this, and this is a transparent moment because I can say this because after certain situations, I called you just straight up like, and then tears happened. Like, in tears, like, I know this is so funny because you were like, I hear him saying, he's not playing you for a jive turkey. Those were the words that you
I did not say
yes,
that.
you did. Why do you not remember? You did say that because
I don't remember those that words.
You
guys.
said those exact words. You said those exact words, and I'm just like, because that's how I felt in that moment. But knowing in my heart, in my head, even though my heart was hurt at the moment, knowing in my head and knowing because of his character, my father would never try and play me as for a jive turkey.
But this is such a powerful moment in your transparency. Thank God for that, because how many of us, myself included, have, if you dare to be honest and transparent about it, messed up relationship we can have with God.
Yeah.
Like, because he's our heavenly father, you know, but sometimes we don't have, they're human, that same relationship with our earthly fathers, but it's the only thing we know. So it's like we kind of default to, you was like that? You did that too? Like, and maybe everybody's father was not a jerk, or but people are flawed. That's the point. People have frailties.
Yeah.
So with that being said, it's worth walking through that moment and not skipping over it if you really want to grow, and it's a part of the journey, to be honest, to supernatural marriage.
Speaking of journey, I just traveled thousands of miles over the course of 3 days, and in the journey of that journey,
journey of 1,000 miles.
In that journey of 1,000 miles, 1,000 plus miles, I'm reminded of how fun life is with God. Now, this is another thing. When waiting for supernatural, or not say waiting, when believing in supernatural marriage, there's a season we come together because in our individuality,
you reframed that. So.
Yeah. And there's a season, there is an understanding or a mindset that we've both gotten busy on our individual things as we come together. Because when we come together, there are going to be things that we get busy on anyways. Yeah. But there, like I said before, there are individual things that God has called us to work on, to do. It looks different for everybody. He knows what he's doing. He's not... Mm-hmm. He's intentional. Like, he's not a loose cannon.
Right.
It's not just because you got brown eyes and I like you. It's not just because you tall. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, those things that we would see with our finite minds, they're so, like, small and linear. He's like, okay, no, because this one got this kind of, she needs this. My daughter needs this. I know it because I created her like this. And then this one needs this, but at the same time, she needs a little bit of sternness sometimes, because she can try and pull, like, you give her an inch, she's going to take the whole football stadium. So there are things that he needs and that he's cultivating in me. But at the same time, I knew it purposely. God had to heal my heart, and this is why I'm so grateful for Apostle Gerald and Yvette Benton, because in their ministry and watching their ministry, growing up emotionally and growing up in the things of how to treat and how to talk to somebody, I remember before meeting them, God had told me, he was like, dude, if I brought him here now, you just beat him up. I'm not going to bring him here so you could jump him. You know what I'm saying? And it's not intentionally like, oh, yeah, let me jump him. Yeah. There were things in my heart. There were things in my bloodline, like, that would jump. So the weights, while it feels
in
like
believing,
it's been good.
I love when you say
the weight has been good.
But you know what I mean? And I know certainly the weight is fine because I see the purpose of the weight. But I think sometimes when it's a painful thing, in helping to reframe that, I love how you said that a moment ago. Like, in the journey to believe for supernatural marriage.
What did Paul say? It was good that I was afflicted.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I don't even remember what the scripture was. I mean, I know the paraphrasing and all of that stuff, but it was good that I was afflicted.
Yeah.
You know, because when that time comes, how sweet. I can't say that I want the most fantastic, amazing, juicy marriage without being able to appreciate a fantastic, but like without being able to appreciate and without being able to cultivate and working with God for that fantastic, juicy marriage.
Yeah.
So
I
that's a
had another
supernatural
point.
marriage.
So many good points to bring out.
I know.
What? Let's see. I had a mentor one time, and she was just sharing how, she came from kind of a broken home, as many people do, and there was a lot of like uncertainty and unstable things because for whatever reason her father wasn't always around. Her mother had some addictions and things like that, and she told me because she had marriage mentors. She had actually did marriage counseling before she even met someone, and I think you shared that. We done a lot of work.
We've been in these streets.
As a lot of women do, a lot of black women do that, and people kind of like, well, what about the men? Who's preparing them? Well, what are they doing? Yeah. But really, to be honest, we are partakers of that preparation.
Yeah,
as
seeing it more,
seeing yourself as a helpmate before you have a ring on, seeing yourself as a wife, because they say the man who finds a wife, that implies you're already a wife, right? Seeing yourself as a bride, getting ready. Apostle Vivian talks about as a ready bride, because we're first and foremost brides to our eternal bridegroom, which is God, which we talked about on another episode, but it really is the truth. We should live a submitted married life for eternity. Even if the man comes, when he comes, you're still doing it. But the point I was trying to make is that she said she could see, because you always talk about God doing the work behind the scenes and it being so integral and even restoring bloodlines. This is a part of supernatural marriage, not just marriage, supernatural marriage. And so she was saying when God brought her together with her mate, and she was married in, she was married in, how was it? 49 days, I believe.
Ooh, Lord.
So she had 3 dates with him, married in 49 days. 12 years later, they're still married and renewing their vows. A couple more children, things of this nature. And he had been divorced and things like that. But when she met him, and she was just saying she realized she had married and he was the one, and she was like, she saw how good he was for her, because she said he was very steady, he was hardworking, he was a family man, and she needed that stability.
Child, I know.
So it just like, but God knows, like you said, what you need to bring restoration to you, and not only you, to your bloodline.
To the bloodline, absolutely. And he knows the things that we have. Like, I don't know. Okay, I'll say this. I like to bop around. I do. I like to jet set. I like to bop around. I like to get up and go. There's a time and a place for it. There is a time and a place for it.
You make moves, friend. You be making moves.
I do be making moves, but I knew, like, I will never forget, like, I knew that I was going to need someone who was a little bit more straight-laced. Because if I had somebody like me, it would be like, oh, well, did you pay the bill? No. Did you pay the bill? We didn't pay the bill? Well, like, who paid the bills with you? Like,
come home and your lights are
off. Jesus. Come home and the lights are off. Not even off, but off, okay? And so, but God knew. And he knows. Because I would probably choose the fun thing. Left up to me.
Yeah.
I choose the fun thing. Let's go have fun.
Speaking of fun, one thing I can say about us is we really love to live that God girl fun life. And it's important, because even if you're in the way, some people say they never want marriage, or they get like despondent and discouraged because they feel like, oh, it's never happened, I'm never going to find the one. But it's important to maintain your faith. If you know God has shown you something, if you know God has told you something, if he's given you a desire, it's a desire for a reason. So with that being said, that's where we are. But it's important, as we've already talked about, to continue to do your individual assignment in the earth. Continue to laugh, have fun, bring balance. You know what I mean? And enjoy life in God. It ultimately, like, just enjoying yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do believe that there are some of us. I mean, I feel like all of us in the kingdom are here to make God look good.
I love it,
because he is good. And there are some of us who take that and hold that horse by its straps, and we're gonna free these horses. Okay, seriously,
ride with the horses. Listen, okay.
Yeah. So that's my spiel on what I believe supernatural marriage is.
I want to say, and I have one more point about this.
Please.
So in thinking about supernatural marriage, thinking about even just many Christian women, and it's statistical, many black Christian women who are waiting on marriage, and what is happening, what is the our counterparts are getting married off. And again, it's not about just marriage, right? That's the thing we have to point out. But they are getting married off pretty, what looks like pretty easy. And sometimes they're territorial. There's cultural things that are in place. So it is important, I think, to have that mentorship, to have that some counsel in this area. But then there, to be mindful that you need to be led by the Holy Spirit, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because there are some scammers in this area that just want to exploit single black women. You know what I mean? Go to this conference, go to that conference, log on and be in this mentorship, follow this page, like date these people, like, you know what I mean?
There are definitely some scammers, and they will be held accountable for what they're doing, because this is an area that, and I'm going all people, but I'm going to say especially women, are really hurt in, and God cares about that.
Absolutely.
He cares about that stuff. So good luck to no, I'm not going to say good luck to them, because there is no good luck to them. Woe to them who scam women purposely in this area of hurt for profit, or for their own sick things or whatever. But the awesome part about it is that God has put Titus 2 women out there.
Yes.
To and their husbands, and the husband, like, the husbands are mentors to men, because he's changing and rearranging some things.
And some of those men, to be honest, heal and help heal, are mentors and deliverers to the women.
Yeah.
Case in point, Apostle John Maurice, who does an amazing job, and Dr. Alexis recommended him.
Yeah.
And just helping to see that there are some things sometimes in our bloodline. There's some things in our heart. There's some people that we entertain and we need to sever. I mean, people like to talk about soul ties, and perhaps they're not biblical, but listen. Get one and see.
Lord knows I've had
see what's happening.
I've had some. Jesus be offense.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's an exciting thing, though. That's the whole thing about it. When we talk about supernatural marriage, I believe it's something to get excited. It's a very serious thing to not be taken lightly, but it's an exciting thing, because this is God's chosen way. Like, this is his like, he could have said, you got to wear green and black, okay? But every day for the rest of your life. But he didn't say that. He said, no, I'm going to give you marriage.
Yeah.
I want to show through marriage and a partnership. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing.
And you always say this to me, it's his plan. He wants
we didn't come up with this
to pass.
We didn't come up with this.
Yeah.
And it's so counter, and it makes sense to me, because when I look at the things of the world, they're such a counter to his plan. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's the message that's all men or all women, or manosphere, or black women, this, that, and the other, or all women. Like, it's crossed borders, it's crossed cultural backgrounds, it's called crossed ethnicities, all of that stuff. So I know it's a plan of the enemy to try and come against.
Something else I want to bring up, and we're getting ready to wrap this up. But guys, tell us what you think about it. Like, do you believe in supernatural marriage? What do you know about it? Who do you have anybody that you would recommend to people? Is it something that you think you would like to know more about it, and you could maybe come out and be a part of something that we're having to teach more about it? Yeah. But my question is, what would you say about this for people that are unsure? Like, is that related to, because people nowadays are like, is that related when it comes to same-sex relationships? Like, is that a part of it? Because people, it's a real thing.
So wait, is what supernatural?
Yeah, like how would you answer that? Because there are people that are in those relationships and in the church, out of the church. Like, how would you talk about supernatural marriage? Like, from a place of wisdom, to say, hey, is it part of that, or it's not a part of that?
I would say this: if that person, supernatural marriage
implies
that you are kingdom minded and kingdom sold out. If a person is living a homosexual life and they're 100% absolutely kingdom minded, they've talked to the Lord, like, there's no qualms, there's no secret life, there's no this, that, and the other. You know what I'm saying?
So they would
the
have
word
to
of God
surrender.
They'd have to surrender. If you are completely surrendered and yet you still feel like and believe that is okay for the Lord,
Hmm.
That's up with you and God.
That's between you and the
That's
Lord.
between you and the Lord. I have like we have no heaven or hell to put you in.
Absolutely.
That's between you and the Lord. I'm not talking about a person who may be angry or a person who's just kind of like, or just said, okay, well, God, even in an umbrella, I'm talking about like, okay, if you know that you serve, believe, trust Jesus Christ, that you hear the Lord, like, and He is walking with you, you are His disciple.
I'm saying, but so, but then to be clear about it, I'm going to go back to what I said originally. Supernatural marriage has to do with really a surrendered life, because that marriage is going to bring glory to God and point back to Jesus Christ. And so in that, you said this earlier too, it's a process of dying to self. It's a process of God's will and not our will. And I know sometimes, and we're not going to get into that debate, but some people believe that that is a part of God's will. But at the
So
end
they
of the
would have
day,
to be honest. Are you really living a surrendered life, living a homosexual life?
that's a good
That's what
question.
I'm saying.
That's
That's
a
what I
good
was pretty much
question.
saying.
Yeah.
Is it? That's what I was like. Honestly, that's what I was saying. If you are 100% sold out, 100% discipling, 100% surrendered to the Lord, and you're still living a disciple life. I mean, you're still living a homosexual life, and you're honest.
There will be conviction. Is that what we're saying?
Girl, we get convicted with fornication. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's conviction
Right.
all around. You got to remember, Jesus is pure.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's not just about what we feel or how we think. Don't get it twisted. Like and this is the thing about it. I feel like we put so much emphasis on homosexuality, same sex attraction, and all of that kind of stuff. Girl, the fornicator,
Absolutely.
the adulterer.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
The whoremonger, like all of those things.
Absolutely.
Like that they're all on the same level. It's not like one is bad or one is worse than the other. They're all an appetite that must be.
I think that
surrendered
question
over
I
to.
was asking is just so that we're clear about it and wonder what other people have to say. Please chime in on this
Chime in.
conversation.
Yeah.
But like just trying to say, like, because there's a lot out there as the law has expanded.
That's the
Things
law of the
have
land.
absolutely, but this needs to be addressed, right? Like as we're talking about supernatural marriage and we're trying to define it, right? What are we saying about that?
We are saying that supernatural marriage is ordained by God. His definition is one man, one woman, not two men, one woman, not two women, one man.
And a horse.
And a horse, not a horse. No, leave the horses alone, y'all. Seriously, leave the horses alone. Leave the horses alone.
I'm being funny, but lighthearted because she's received a prophetic message about these horses. She's gonna free the horses, y'all.
I'm freeing the horses. I'm serious. Leave these horses alone. But no, seriously. All of the stuff that we can try and come up with, and this is the amazing part about it. I've seen some amazing women of God who had lived a homosexual lifestyle. They never said that it was just all of a sudden gone and stuff. What they have said is that they found the love of God and they surrendered their lifestyles through the Lord. And so He started like the appetites started dying. That's the same thing, honestly, with somebody who is fornicating, with somebody who's obese. Like,
absolutely,
that's me. You know what I'm
surrender.
saying? Surrendered the appetite. You know what I'm saying? I can't eat all of the stuff that I want to eat.
I likes to eat. I do know.
We can't even do all of the stuff we want to do. It has to be surrendered to God. So all it is an appetite.
That brings up a good point. If anybody would like a good piece of literature, like I've read and loved the book just from a point of pure enjoyment and biblical principles, is I believe it's Good Girl Gay God. Good God, Gay Girl by Jackie Hill Perry. And she tells her testimony in the story, of course. And I love it. So to me, you wouldn't think it'd be revolutionary because, like you said, sometimes in religious sectors we like to persecute certain people, but in her writing, it's so inclusive of all people who have frailty, who have weaknesses, who have cravings that do not align with what God would want. And so that's what I love about the read. And it talks about, like you said, just loving God more than I love a desire or appetite for something that does not align with Him.
That part.
Yeah.
That part. So, yeah, this was a really good conversation, very necessary, and there will be someone who comes across it and they may like get irritated by what we're saying, and that's okay. That's, we love you. Seriously, we still love you. Listen to the actual message, and if it irritates you, especially in this world where you're told you don't have to accept anything from anybody, we're not saying that. We're talking about God's plan for supernatural marriage, and if you really believe that you've been called to that, because not everybody has been.
Absolutely.
Not everybody has been, but there are a sector of people who have been. Listen, hold
And
on.
really,
Allow
I
Holy
want to say
Spirit.
this about it. Like, not everybody will enter into a supernatural marriage because we just talked about it costs. Not literal costs. Sometimes money is involved, but it costs a lot of dying to yourself and perhaps waiting, praying, fasting, resting, believing, intimacy with the Lord. It's a it. I don't want to say it's what weighty as a lot, but you have to die to yourself to become more like Christ, and that's a part of the journey. And everybody's not willing to sign up for that, and that's just the reality. So
Yeah. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of our socials, In Love with Love podcast.
guys, we love you.
We love you guys. Like, seriously, and free those horses. Leave them alone. But
Free the horses.
but I am Anja,
And I'm Nicole.
and we are in love with love. Until next time.
Stay in love with love.